Did it work? Did it work? Oh my gosh. Did it work? I don't know if it worked. Can you hear me? No? Oh my gosh. I don't know. Anybody? Anybody? Tanya? Allison? Did it work? Can you see me? Can you hear me? I don't think you can. I can't see me or hear me. Stick in the comments. Allison can see me. Hello, I see you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, Tanya, are you still here? Can you hear me?
Tanya, are you still here?
Oh,
can you hear me?
I can hear me.
Tanya, are you still here? Can you hear me? I can hear me.
Can anybody hear me? All right, this is so weird because I can't, maybe I'm not supposed to hear me. Can you hear me? Yes. No? Oh my gosh. This is too funny. All right, well, I hope you can hear me. Hello, hello. This is so funny. Welcome to my live stream. While I try to figure out what the heck I'm doing, you guys are here figuring it out with me. Thank you for coming to figure it out with me. All right, I've got my tea. How are you? Allison's coming back when she gets her stuff. Oh my goodness. All right, it's Wednesday night. It's time. Allison's back. All right, so tonight, oh yes, yes, the sun takes priority, 100%. All right, how are you guys? Good, good. All right, welcome to my first live in real time. Let's talk about some books. So, you know that I'm doing the one of my challenges this year is the All by Colleen Hoover reading challenge, and she's got like 28 books. So I've split it up, and I don't know anything about these books, right? And I don't really know anything about Colleen Hoover other than at the end of last year, every store window that I walked by had every single book she had in it, and she's super popular. I've never read anything by her. I had never even really heard of her. I mean, I guess I'd heard of her, but all of a sudden she was everywhere. So this year I was like, I feel like I want to see what all this fuss is about, because there's a lot of fuss. There was a lot of fuss. And now I feel like she has a lot of haters. Now that I've started reading her and people have started talking about her, and she's got a lot of haters. And I don't know if I hate her or I love her, because now I've literally only read 3 books that she's ever written. And the first one, I liked it but didn't love it. And then the other 2 I read this month. And so I read LAYLA and Reminders of Him. And there are 2 of her standalone books. And she's got some books that she does in series, but these were 2 standalone books. Yeah, Allison says she heard about her because I said something. But yeah, she's everywhere, right? Allison, are you seeing that people are loving her or hating her? Because I feel like all of a sudden I'm seeing all of these people that hate her, which is discouraging when I'm like, well, now I've got to read every book she's ever written and people are hating her. But a bit of both. Yeah. So I I've read 3 of her books. I read Regretting You last year, like I said, and it was okay. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. I think I gave it 4 stars because it has some good stuff to it, but there were things that I was like, yeah, that seems weird to me. So this month, LAYLA and what Reminders of Him. Have you read either one of these? Anybody read either one of these, LAYLA or Reminders of Him? Yes, Allison, I 100% agree. Like Virginia Andrews, Daniel Steele, when like they get really big and people are crazy about them, but then all of a sudden, it's like you can't be too popular because then people start hating you. And maybe there's good reasons to hate her. And now I'm going to say something else unpopular, but I think the same thing kind of happened to J.K. Rowling, although J.K. Rowling might have brought some of that on herself. I don't know. But yeah, it's like people that are popular are also easy to hate. Tanya says, no, not yet. All right. Well, it looks like I'm the only one here who's read both of these books. So let me tell you about them. Both of them I liked, and they're both very different. Allison, what's the name of the Colleen Hoover book you started last night? Haters Gonna Hate, yeah. Well said, Tanya. Well said. Hopeless. All right, let me look here on my little reading journal and see when I'm doing Hopeless. Because when I do Hopeless, Allison, you're going to come and talk about it with me. All right, let's see. When do I read Hopeless? I think Hopeless might be part of a series. I'm saying that off the top of my head. But I feel like it might be part of her series. Okay, Hopeless I read in... Hopeless is part of the series, Allison. It's a 5-book series, and I'm doing all 5 books in August. So, Allison, that's your homework. In August, by August, you have to read all 5 of the books, and we're going to come and talk about them all. I'll bring you up here live on video with me, and you can be my reading partner, all 5 books. I heard a rumor, though, that, or maybe I read this somewhere, that it's Hopeless, Losing Hope, Finding Cinderella, All Your Perfects, and Finding Perfect. And I'm not sure you'll make it to the end of the first. Is it short or long? Because I heard a rumor that they were sort of shorter, that they were sort of like novellas. Is that right? Or is Hopeless like a big old... Tanya's going to read the series with me. Good, especially if they're novellas. We can definitely get through all 5. Oh, good, it is quite short. All right, come on, Allison, hang in there with me. If you don't like it, you'll have plenty of things to say, especially after 5 books. All right, let me tell you, though, about LAYLA and Reminders of Him. 40 years too old for it. I think it is one of her young adult, or a series that could be a young adult, which I do, the 3 books that I've read, I mean, they have a little bit more sex in them that I would expect from a young adult. I mean, when I was 14 years old, I certainly was not reading books with sex in them, except maybe like, did Judy Blume, Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret? Was that, did that have sex in it, or just her period? And having a period is not sex, right? But that's about as steamy as I was getting when I was 12, 13, 14. But kids these days are a little bit more advanced than I was. But I do feel like with the 3 books that I've read, 14 is the new 20. Yeah. Other than the sex in some of the books, I was like, this feels like something that if I was a mom, I would maybe read with my teenager and we could talk about it, other than the sex. And maybe I'm just a prude, but it would be awkward to read a book with a lot of sex in it and then talk about it. But maybe that's what we're supposed to do these days with our kids, right? Because they got to learn it from someone. They should learn it from their parents. All right, if you're a parent, maybe pick up a Colleen Hoover young adult book and read it with your kid, because you can talk about the issues and you can talk about the sex. I don't know. You got to be braver than I am. You watched 9.5 Weeks. See, Allison, you are the perfect, with your mom. Maybe your mom is a Colleen Hoover fan. She would like to read these books and talk about them with you. All right. Let's start with LAYLA then. So, because LAYLA has sex, but it's like tame sex, and for good reason. So LAYLA is a story that I started at the beginning of the year, beginning of the month. And I got like 5 chapters in and I had to stop because I was scared. And I didn't realize that it was a ghost story. And I really didn't realize it until I was like well into the beginning, because it doesn't start off as a ghost story. It starts off as the male lead meets the female lead for the first time, and it's like love at first sight, and it's actually kind of a very nice like how they met kind of scene. So they meet, they fall in love, they I can't remember if they move in together, but I think they move in together, or they're starting to move in together. And then the male lead, whose name is Leeds, so it's LAYLA and Leeds. Leeds has an ex-girlfriend who's like a stalker. He broke up with her because he like didn't like her, and she's a bit of a stalker, and she's a little bit crazy. Well, Leeds and LAYLA are at Leeds' apartment, and there's a knock on the door, right? LAYLA goes to open the door, and it's the ex-girlfriend. Bang, bang, shoot 'em up, LAYLA's dead, and then somehow so is the ex-girlfriend, right? I don't know if Leeds kills the ex-girlfriend with the gun or the ex-girlfriend kills herself. I don't know. I don't even know that it's discussed. But we've got LAYLA's dead. Sable is the girlfriend's name. She's dead. So, but LAYLA is not really dead. Like she gets to the hospital and she's revived, but she has like major injuries, which she then over the next couple of months or 6 months or however long recovers. But she's not really the same, right, as you wouldn't be. So Leeds is like, well, I want to take her on a romantic getaway to the place where we met, which is a mansion that they turned into a hotel. So Leeds rents out the mansion for a week or something like that, or 2 weeks. And it's out in the middle of nowhere in like Wyoming or something. They have to fly there. So they go and they check in. And, well, they don't check in because it's not even a hotel anymore. The guy that owned it put it up for sale. And so it's for sale. It's been abandoned. So they go in and they make themselves at home, and they're doing what you do when you go on vacation. Well, then these weird things start happening. Weird things. Like the kitchen catches on fire, but then it gets put out. Like his computer, he's working on his computer, and his computer shuts down. And so stuff that's like, okay, there's crazy shit happening in this house, and it's ghosts. And that's when I was like, nope, no, sir. I can't read this book. I can't read. If there's ghosts going on, I'm not going to be able to do it. It's too scary because I sort of believe in ghosts, but they're scary ghosts, and I don't want any part of it. So, but I have to do it because I'm doing the reading challenge. So I picked the book back up. Ghosts are cool. Oh my God. Okay, so you would like this book then, Allison, because this ghost is cool. once I like summon up my courage and it's broad daylight again and I can start reading the book, I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down and read it, and I am not going to be scared. And then I wasn't scared because it's actually like light. It's ghost light because Leeds ends up falling in love with the fucking ghost. I'm annoyed with Leeds because he's supposed to be there on this romantic, I'm going to ask LAYLA to marry me on this holiday. And then all of a sudden he's falling in love with the ghost, right? So, which makes no sense to me. No, they were not throwing any axes. No. So I'm trying to decide right now. Oh, so Leeds goes on to the internet, as you do when you have a ghost, and you've got to figure out what to do with it. So Leeds goes on to the internet and finds a person in a chat room who's like, so you have a ghost. Let me, asking questions and stuff like that. Cheated on with a ghost is pretty sad. Oh, Allison, you don't even know. The cheating on, this was my big problem. The thing that, besides Leeds falling in love with the ghost, the other thing that Leeds and the ghost did, was take possession of LAYLA's body. The ghost took possession of LAYLA's body so that Leeds and the ghost could talk and interact and hang out. And LAYLA didn't know that any of that was happening. So she would be sitting at the kitchen table, they'd be eating, and the ghost would go into LAYLA's body without LAYLA knowing, and then Leeds and the ghost would talk and hang out and do whatever they were doing, and then the ghost would leave LAYLA's body, and LAYLA would be like I didn't eat, what happened to my food? Because she didn't do it, she wasn't there. So I did not like Leeds at all, because he, one, fell in love with a ghost, and being cheated on with a ghost is pretty sad. And then two, he kept being like, oh, it's really bad we shouldn't be taking possession of LAYLA's body without her knowing, I feel bad, but let's do it anyway. So they just keep doing it. Ghosts are more fun. Of course you would fall in love with the ghost if the opportunity presented. You think I would fall in love with the ghost? Maybe. The ghost of George Clooney, maybe. The ghost of Cary Grant, maybe. I don't know. But, so they're going along. They find a guy, Leeds finds a guy to come to the house to help him deal with the ghost, because he realizes the ghost needs to be set free, right? This is, why the Ghostbusters show up, I guess, to set the ghost free from its purgatory. So, Ghostbuster dude comes to the house, talks to Leeds. They take possession of LAYLA's body, so he then gets to talk to the ghost. Well, spoiler alert, the ghost is the real LAYLA. And the LAYLA that they keep taking possession of is Sable, the murdering ex-girlfriend. So, the right ghost is just like the right man. I'm so confused. Yeah, Allison, right? So let me clear this up. Apparently, during the shooting, when both LAYLA and the murdering ex-girlfriend shooter died, the murdering ex-girlfriend's soul jumped into LAYLA's body and went to the hospital and got saved. But LAYLA's soul I guess, didn't jump into the murdering ex-girlfriend's body. And so Layla's soul has just been floating around, like, went back to where they met. So it is confusing, but it's like, oh, now there are things that make more sense in the story. So, story ends because they hatch this plan because Leeds and the real Layla have to, like, get together. So the only way to get the wrong soul out of the right body is to kill the body. So they hatch this plan. The real Layla's sister is a nurse. The real Layla's sister is coming to visit them in this house. So the plan is this. Leeds is going to drown the body of Layla with the soul of the murdering ex-girlfriend. He's going to drown that Layla in the pool. When that Layla is dead, ghost Layla, the soul of the real Layla, is going to jump back into her body. And then the sister is going to come out and save her. And they're all going to live happily ever after. I mean, this is like that movie in the 80s with Julia Roberts and Kiefer Sutherland, right? Where they're the medical students and they want to see what it's like to be dead. So they kill each other and practice bringing each other back to life. And like, this is not a good idea because I feel like it didn't work for Julia Roberts somehow. I don't know. Kevin Bacon was in the movie too, maybe? Do you know this movie? I'm not selling it to Allison. Yeah, you got to read it though, because you do sort of get into it, and then you're like, oh, all right. All right, Allison's not impressed. It's a quick read though. No, not impressed. Anyway, for a ghost story, for someone who doesn't like to be scared, it was ghost story light. So I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. Allison says no. Yeah. Tanya's not into it either. All right. We'll leave Layla then. All right. Reminders of Him you're gonna like. No, maybe not. Reminders of Him is a completely different story. All right. Here's Reminders of Him. Gosh, this one's hard to explain, but it makes more sense. So, Kenna, 5 years ago, Kenna was dating Scotty, and they were in love, and they're out one night, and they get drunk. And Kenna is less drunk than Scotty, so Kenna drives them home. And they get into a car accident, and Kenna is not injured, but Scotty is super injured, and Kenna can't find a pulse. He's unconscious. She's convinced that he's dead. And she leaves the scene and goes home. The police come the next day and arrest her. She then pleads guilty to involuntary manslaughter or something and goes to prison for 5 years. So the story begins as she gets out of prison, and she is going back to where Scotty is from, back to where they were, because she has a daughter. She was pregnant. She didn't know she was pregnant when she pled guilty. She had the baby in prison, and the baby was immediately placed with Scotty's parents, and Kenna's parental rights were terminated. So the story begins with her going back to the town because she wants to see if there's any chance that she can have any kind of a relationship with her daughter. So she goes to town. Her first night in town, she goes to what she thought was a bookstore, but it's now a bar. And she doesn't drink, but she meets the bartender. And she and the bartender have a thing. And like I said, Colleen Hoover likes to have a lot of sex in her books, and so there's some sexy time. Turns out the bartender was Scotty's best friend. Of course he was. But they never met. Kenna never met him. They had both just heard of each other. Allison is laughing. Yeah, of course he is. And he also is really good friends because he was Scotty's best friend. He's best friends, of course, with Scotty's parents, who now have custody of Diem and are raising the child. The daughter's name is Diem, like Carpe Diem. Diem. I don't know. It's weird. That's the name. So they go to, so Ledger, the bartender, doesn't know who Kenna is, doesn't recognize her. So that's why he's like having the sexy time. But Kenna definitely knows who he is, and so she's a little bit weird about the sexy time. But she's kind of thinks, oh, maybe he can help me find my daughter. I don't know where she is. Well, yeah, he can help you find your daughter because he lives right across the street from Patrick and Grace, Scotty's parents, raising the kid. So anyway, the whole story is, how is Kenna going to have a relationship with her daughter? Because Scotty's parents are like, hell no. You basically left our child to die, right? Because he wasn't dead when Kenna left. And we know he wasn't dead when Kenna left the scene because he crawled out of the car and basically died hours later on the side of the road. How awful is this, right? But Kenna didn't know that. She checked the pulse, she checked all this stuff, she didn't know. But Scotty's parents don't know that Kenna wasn't just this shitty girl who crashed the car because she was drunk driving and then left him there screaming her name help me, help me. Their point is, why wouldn't she just call an ambulance? Why wouldn't she call the police before she left? Why wouldn't she try to help him, right? So the parents think Kenna is a terrible person, as you would. And Kenna is like, I just want to see my daughter. Why can't I see my daughter? She thinks Scotty's parents are sort of being unfair to her. So it's this whole what's going to happen, and then what's going to happen with Ledger. So it's the story of how all of these people sort of deal with this situation where everybody's the bad guy, but nobody's the bad guy. And I love how Colleen Hoover wrote the characters. I think one of the criticisms she gets is that her characters are fluffy, not real people. But every single one of these characters, even the minor characters, I thought, these are people I love. I want to be friends with all of these people. They are funny and they are honest. And it was so cool to see how all of the characters worked through their feelings about what do we do about Diem, right? What do we do about the daughter? What is in her best interest? And how they all had to go in their brain from what they thought the story was about Scotty and Kenna, and Scotty and his parents, what they thought about the other people in the story versus what was really true about it. And so all of that keeping in mind what is best, what's the best thing for the daughter. So that I liked. I liked how they all sort of worked through feelings, but not in a nice and tidy way. It wasn't oh, well, now we know that she didn't leave the scene, so now we like her. Everything's great and fine and good. They still had a process, the parents still had a process to go through. So I liked it. And I have to say that there are two things that this book had for me that was shocking to me, because I didn't expect that a Colleen Hoover was going to have these kinds of things. So it's not probably going to be on my book of the year in my book bracket. It's definitely not even the book of the month for January, but it is getting a nominee for funniest scene. Yeah, it is. It's getting a nominee for funniest scene, and I need your opinion on this. Best meet cute. I think it's a nominee for best meet cute, but it's not a traditional meet cute, which is why I need your advice on whether this should qualify or not. Okay, so the meet cute, it's not the bartender and Kenna. I mean, that was an interesting meeting, but the meet cute that I'm thinking of is when Kenna goes to get a job at like the supermarket. And she is in the bathroom, as you do before you go to get a job, you go to use the bathroom. And yes, Tanya, really. And this woman is in the bathroom, and they strike up a conversation, and it turns out the woman is the manager of the supermarket, and she's literally hiding in the bathroom because she just doesn't want to be out there on the floor dealing with whatever's happening on the floor. And so like she's like, yeah, I hide in the bathroom all the time. And Ken is like, okay. So then she goes and gets the job. And the reason why I think that's the good meet cute is because it's like a cute way to meet your boss, and they have like a cute conversation there. But then later on in the book, when Kenna and Ledger are not getting along, because Ledger is pissed because he's like, what do you mean? You're the lady that killed my best friend. Like, you should have told me before we were having a sexy time. He was like angry. I would be angry. But so Ledger comes into the supermarket, and Kenna is like, I can't be here. I don't want to see him. I don't want to talk to him. He's going to make a scene. So Ken is like, says to Amy, she's like, Amy, do you mind if I use the bathroom? And Amy's like, girl, you don't need to ask permission to pee. Do you remember how we met? I go in there and hide in the bathroom all the time. Go hide. And I was like, yeah, I like this. Is it a meet cute though? I can't decide, because it is how they met. And I love how she's like, girl, you don't have to ask me to go pee just because you want to hide in the bathroom. Go. What do you think? You don't want the job if it's so awful the boss hides in the bathroom. Oh my God, but Allison, have you had those kinds of jobs where you just have to go hide in the bathroom on a regular basis? Oh, Allison, you know what a meet cute is. It's usually between when in a romantic comedy, when like the way the boy meets the girl and it's cute, right? And it's like, oh, that's so cute. Like, oh gosh, the only example I can think of right now is from that movie, I Leave Any Job. The first time that happens. So like a meet cute is, this is from that movie, The Holiday. But the meet cute is like, there's a man and a woman, and they don't know each other. And they both need to buy pajamas, but the woman just needs the top part of the pajamas, and the man just wants the bottom part. So they both go to the department store, and they both go to buy a pair of pajamas. And they realize that, and they meet each other there, and they're like, oh, it's perfect. I'll take the top, you take the bottom. We only have to buy one set, and now we're in love. It's a silly thing, but it's a meet cute. Does this qualify as a meet cute? A meet cute is just a cute way that people meet. But it's usually like a romantic thing. And this is not a romantic thing. So do you think it doesn't qualify? Tanya, you want to weigh in here? Does a meet cute have to be romantic? Allison is barfing. All right. It's unclear. Well, anyway. All right, here's the last thing that I have to say about this. So, and because I did write this down in my book, I read another book this month that, Tanya, I like Meet Cute, but not this one. Allison says, I'm in charge. It qualifies if I want it to. This is a tricky question. I don't know. I don't know technically if it does, but I think if I wanted to, it could. This one is a red flag. All right, so what I really liked about this book is the parenting. So I did say I'm not tracking best supporting characters this year. I did last year. I'm not this year. But if I were, Ledger's parents would be my best supporting characters. They would definitely be high on the list because they are funny. I totally think people should read this book just for the parents. Like, I want these people to be my parents. They are hilarious. They're the kind of parents that they like to embarrass their kids, but they're still completely in love and friends with each other, the husband and wife, after 40 years of marriage or however long they've been married in the book. And they tease each other and they do fun things together, and they're like kids, but they love to embarrass Ledger, and they love to just show up, and they love to have fun and be fun. But one of my favorite scenes in this book is, it's later in the book. Ledger and Kenna are like solidly in a relationship. Ledger is now, gotten over his, I don't know what to do about Kenna. He's decided what he's going to do. He wants to be with her. So they're solidly in a relationship. Ledger's parents show up unannounced at his house and catch Ledger and Kenna in flagrante, whatever. So it's a funny scene, but and they sort of all play it off really, really well. But then later, Ledger is back at his house with his mom, and his mom is like, I know who she is. What are you going to do? Because that's not going to go down well with Scotty's parents. And what are you going to do about her? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, being a mom, she's giving him advice, but not. And she's just sort of supporting him while he processes through it all. And she says what I think is the quote of the book, which is this: I think there's room in a tragedy this size for everyone to be both right and wrong. And I just feel like that is what the book is about, right? Terrible, terrible things have happened. Terrible things happen. And there's room in a tragedy that big for everybody to be right and everybody to be wrong. And somehow you gotta figure it all out. And there is no right and wrong, maybe. I don't know. So at the end of the day, I gave this one 5 stars. It's definitely got a funniest scene nominee in it, and maybe a meet cute. So I think you should read it. mean, for the parenting tips alone. Yeah, I like it. When you guys read it, because I feel like this one is a more likely read for you than Layla. Yeah? More likely? Allison's like, did you not see me barfing? Allison, do you like to read romance, though? Do you like romance? Might give it a go. Sounds very cliched. It does sound cliched, but it wasn't. I didn't think it was anyway. I really didn't. I didn't know how it all was going to work out in the end. I mean, you know it's all going to work out in the end because it always does in a novel. But I wasn't sure if Kenna was just going to leave town and that's how it was going to work out. I didn't know. Too old for parenting advice, Tanya. But you could give the parenting advice, maybe. I read loads of contemporary romance, but UK rather than US. Oh, the US stuff is sickly sweet. Huh. I wonder if that's true. Like, I'm trying to think if no, I've read some British romance. And of course, it's just whoever you're reading, right? But I remember, then the British authors that I read that were doing the romance were not even trying to be serious romance, right? It was, and I knew it going into it. It was like, I don't know what the proper word for it is, but like where you know going in that it's like all cliche. It's like you're watching a Hallmark movie, but you're reading it. And I knew it going in, so I wasn't expecting it to be anything but what it was. And maybe I walked in expecting Colleen Hoover to be the same sort of way, but with this book anyway, this book was not that. It was not that. And I was surprised, just because I thought the characters were so well done. And that surprised me, because the book that I read a year ago, last year, Regretting You, I was not a big fan of the characters. So, curious that the US stuff you think is too Hallmarky, too like Hallmark movies. Do you know Hallmark movies, being a Brit? Maybe we like that kind of. This is why you don't know a meet cute, maybe. Maybe Americans are like meet cute crazy. Too wise for giving advice on parenting. Ooh, Tanya. That's true. That's a good point. All right. All right, so Allison is reading Hopeless. Allison, do you think after hearing about these other two books that you're like, yeah, Colleen Hoover's not for me. I'm not even going to try to finish Hopeless? Hallmark is a bit bling. Yeah. Not sure if I want to read more. She's going to finish it. All right, well, you're going to finish it, and you're going to read the other 5 novellas. You, me, and Tanya. We'll have a 3-way. Oh, that sounds terrible. We'll have a 3-person discussion maybe in August, the end of August, after the 5 books. For not having a 3-way. Yeah. Allison, is there a lot of sex in Hopeless? I've heard Verity has a ton of sex, and like I've heard it's a little bit kinky sex in Verity. I'll be embarrassed. I'll need somebody to talk about that with me because I'll be embarrassed. Not yet. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right, Allison, other than Hopeless, what are you reading right now? Tanya, what are you reading right now? Or what have you read this month that you really liked? Tanya. I'm up for the discussion, but not the three-way. Fair. That's fair. Not yet, but there's a line where a girl drinks from a bottle and then the guy drinks from the same bottle. And it says, it's almost like we were kissing, vomit emoji. Yeah. How the Word is Passed. Tanya is reading How the Word is Passed. Tanya, do you like it? You love it? It is not almost like they were kissing, right? Ooh. I'm reading a memoir of a friend of my daughter's who has anorexia and spent time in an eating disorder unit. Harrowing stuff, but some dark humor. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's not like anything I've read this month. Tanya, I'm starting How the Word is Passed on Saturday. All right, do you want to know the Colleen Hoover book that I'm reading next month? It's just one. It's just one. And it's debatable whether it is even a Colleen Hoover book. So when I picked all of the books, I like it because of the insight of history. Yeah. I think you said it's super factual too, like researched and a bunch of facts. Is that right? How the Word is Passed. Oh my gosh, Allison, I feel like I already knew that. Death in Heels, a crime book set in Dublin in a drag club. I kind of want to know more about that. Death in Heels, a crime book in Dublin in a drag club. Was it funny? Was it... Like, I do want to know more about it. What was the crime? I'm afraid to know. And why was it your favorite? Tanya wants to know what? All right, well, Allison is answering my question. So, it was good fun, not too gruesome, good. It was quite funny in parts. The end was a bit dark, but it was a fun read and some memorable characters. I like memorable characters. All right, cool. I'm going to look it up, Death in Heels. Okay, so next month I am reading, it's 2 More Days is the name of the Colleen Hoover book. And why I say it's maybe not a Colleen Hoover book is because she didn't write it. And I didn't realize that. There's 2 books on my list that are Colleen Hoover books that she did not write. And this is the problem. This is what I get all the time because I don't read book descriptions normally. I just look at it and I go, oh yeah, I want to read that, or I'll read that. I totally judge the book by the cover or by a recommendation. Allison just said Death in Heels, good book. Okay, fine. I'll go pick it up and look at it. Like she said it's her favorite book of the month. It must be somebody liked it. I'll go read it. I don't read it. I don't read the descriptions. So not knowing anything about Colleen Hoover or her books, I literally just went to her website and she has there a graphic of all of her books. And the graphic gives which ones are young adult, which ones are regular adult, which ones are semi-pornographic or whatever. She gives so you sort of know that much, and she gives which are standalone and which are part of a series. So I just looked at that and put all of the books in my reading journal in my library and didn't think anything about it. And I was like, okay, I just gotta put in when I'm gonna read them. So as I started figuring out when I'm gonna read everything, I was like, all right, let me read, I was scrolling through, and 2 more days is Kindle Unlimited, and I was like, ding, let's do this next. So, but she didn't write it. 1 More Step and 2 More Days are books that she did not write. They are part of her, I don't know if it's a publishing thing that she has or if it's like a writer's group that she has, but they're her people that wrote it. It's like a collection of short stories. Both of them are a collection of short stories, and every story starts with 2 More Days. That's the title of the book. The other book, every single story starts with 1 More Step. Those have to be the first words of the story, but then the author can go and tell whatever story they want to tell, which is kind of a cool concept, I think, right? So they're big books because they're compilations of short stories. So, like, I think my Kindle was saying it takes most people like 18 hours to read, 20 hours, something like that. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do 1 book next month. So it's 2 More Steps, and it's a collection of short stories that all start with the words 2 more, or 2 more days, 2 more days. So does that sound good? I mean, short stories? Colleen Hoover didn't write them? Maybe we like this? I don't know. I don't know. So that's what I'm reading next week. Next month, which is next week, I guess. All right. I hate short stories. Why? Why? I love short stories. Allison hates them. Tanya, what are your thoughts on a short story? I hate short stories. Oh my gosh. I don't find there's enough time to develop the characters to the point where I care about them. Yeah, that's a fair point. I can see that. Yeah. I think sometimes they try to put too much into it so that it's too much. And you're like, what did I just read? I don't know the people, I don't like them, and I'm not really sure, like, what just happened. It's like they try to cram a long story into a short story and it doesn't work. So, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what I think about 2 More Days. Maybe I'll hate them all. Surely there's 1 short story in there that's going to be good. Exactly, yeah. Well, there's got to be 1 short story that's going to be good. I have read some good short stories. One of my favorite short stories, A Faraway Scent of Lemon. I'd rather spend time on a novel. Yeah. Tanya loves short stories. Tanya. 2 More Days. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Read it with me and we'll talk next month. We'll find a good short story. I'll be curious. Like, if there are people who love one of the short stories and then, like, somebody else loves another one. Yeah. I like short stories, but they're hard. They have to be well written, and I feel like they're hard to write. That's what I think. All right. So, it's 6:02 where I am. We've talked about our 2 books. You guys were not excited about LAYLA, and you were less excited about Reminders of Him. No, of the two, I would recommend Reminders of Him. I would. All right. So, I guess we should go. How do you finish one of these? I don't know. How do you say goodbye? Oh no, not a Colleen fan. Yeah, but are you a hater? So there is a difference, right? You cannot be a fan. You can be a non-fan and not be a hater. Yeah, I don't know if I would say I'm a fan yet. I am a Vivian Fig Tree fan. Oh, Allison. No, not a hater. Just a meh. Yeah. Yeah, I would say I'm sort of a... I mean, I've read one that I was like, meh. One that I was like, And then I really liked Reminders of Him. So we'll see. I've got 20 more to go. We'll see if I become a fan in the end, or if I'm just sort of like, Or if I turn on her. Maybe I'll turn on her. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be an interesting journey this year. All right. Not a hater, just a meh. Tanya's going to be a fan after these short stories. But then can you be a Colleen Hoover fan if you read short stories that she didn't even write? I don't know. All right. It's time for us to go. I will see you guys. Thanks for coming to talk about this with me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. I'll see you guys. Goodbye.